My name is Ava, and I used to believe loyalty came before success, especially when it came to family. I'm 29, an engineer by training and a startup founder by stubbornness. 3 years ago, I left a lucrative job at a top robotics firm in Seattle, not because I hated it, but because I had a vision. A vision I wasn't willing to shelf, just because it made people uncomfortable. It was a system, part hardware, part software, that could revolutionize logistics and small-scale warehousing. Too niche for big corporations. Too technical for shallow investors. But I believed in it. And I thought my brother did too. Jason is 3 years older than me. He has that magnetic confidence that makes people instantly trust him. Always the smooth-talking older brother with a perfect smile and a handshake that made investors feel safe. We were close. At least, I thought we were. So when I started working on the prototype, I brought him in. Not because I needed his help, but because I thought success would be sweeter if it were shared. He didn't have the technical skills, but he had contacts, he had polish, and he knew how to sell an idea. My idea. We worked out of my garage for months. I designed the interface, soldered the boards, coded the base AI. He offered feedback, attended pitch events with me, and took meetings I couldn't. And for a while, it felt like we were building something together. Until one day, everything went quiet. Jason stopped replying to my messages, said he was dealing with personal stuff, said he needed space. Then 3 weeks later, I saw the press release. A new logistics startup, LoadSmart AI, just raised $2 million in seed funding. Founder, Jason Walker. Core product, an AI-assisted warehouse optimization system. The photo they used in the article showed him grinning in a crisp navy suit. In his hand, my prototype. I remember staring at my screen so long, my coffee went cold. The name, the pitch, the diagrams, they were mine. He hadn't even changed the deck design. He took it all, without asking, without warning, without shame. I called him, straight to voicemail. I emailed him. Nothing. I even stopped by the house. He wasn't home, or pretended not to be. And for 2 weeks, I sat in my apartment trying to understand how betrayal could wear a familiar face. Then one night, my best friend Mia came over. She found me curled on the couch, red-eyed, silent. She said, "You know you can get back at him, right?" I looked at her like she was crazy, but she wasn't smiling. "You don't need revenge, you need leverage. Let's get it." And just like that, everything shifted. Mia was the one person who never saw me as fragile. Even now, when I was a mess of confusion, she spoke like we were already past the storm. "You still have all your early research files, right?" I nodded slowly. "The prototypes, the development logs, emails?" "Yeah," I said, voice barely above a whisper. Mia stood up and grabbed her laptop. "Then, we start there. Because if he used what you built without your consent, that's theft, intellectual property theft." I hadn't thought of it that way. To me, it was betrayal. To Mia, it was a legal opportunity. She pulled up LinkedIn, searched for LoadSmart AI. There it was, Jason's company, already with 6 employees. One of them used to intern with me during grad school. Another was someone I'd met at a pitch conference. Every profile she clicked stung like a slap. He wasn't just building his own thing. He was building it using pieces of mine. "Here," Mia said, spinning the laptop toward me. "He's courting Vaxa Capital for his next round." Vaxa was a mid-size VC firm known for tech-heavy investments. I'd pitched to them before. Well, tried. Jason had attended that same meeting with me. They passed on us then. Now, they were interested in him. Or more accurately, in my idea, dressed in a blazer and a new name. It was then I decided I wasn't going to sit quietly while someone else built an empire on my back. I logged into an old drive, one I hadn't touched in months. My original sketches, time-stamped prototypes, the email thread where Jason and I discussed my patent strategy. Everything was still there, neatly organized, painfully detailed, more than enough to prove who built what and when. But this wasn't about filing lawsuits. I wasn't interested in dragging him through court for years. I wanted something cleaner, sharper, more poetic. "I want to buy his investors," I told Mia. She blinked. What? Vaxa, alt-edge, tech spring. If he's chasing them, I'll get to them first. Quietly. Mia raised an eyebrow. You planning to walk in with a flamethrower and a checkbook? No, I said. I'm going to walk in with something better. A working product. I stayed up for the next 48 hours. Refining the demo. Perfecting the UI. Running simulations. It wasn't just about getting back at Jason. It was about proving that I was the founder, not the sister who got left behind. Not the girl in the hoodie doing the back-end work, but the woman behind the idea. 3 days later, I scheduled meetings with the same investors Jason was pitching. I didn't use my full name. Just A. Walker, founder, Ardent Systems. A nod to something new. Not a reaction, a revolution. And the moment Vaxa saw the prototype, their lead partner leaned forward and said, "Why haven't we seen this before?" I smiled. You have. You just didn't know where to look. The boardroom at Vaxa Capital was like a glass cage. Sleek, cold, silent enough to hear your own ambition echo. I sat at the far end, demo kit set up, prototype humming softly beside my laptop. 3 partners watched me closely. One of them, Elena Vargas, tilted her head like she already knew there was more to this story than what I was saying. So, she asked, arms folded, what makes Ardent Systems different from LoadSmart AI? The question was a loaded gun. I didn't flinch. Our software predicts internal traffic flow in micro-warehousing based on live inventory volatility, not just SKU velocity. I paused. LoadSmart's last pitch relied on batch behavior and seasonal triggers. Great in theory. Inefficient in real time. A silence fell. Then one of the junior analysts scribbled something furiously in his notebook. The CTO nodded. You've done your homework. I wrote the homework, I said, voice level. And I never stopped rewriting it. They asked me to walk them through the simulation. I showed them what my system could do in 16 square meters. Then, what it could do in 60. Real-time rerouting. Live shelf predictions. Autonomous adjustment of robotic paths. It was fast. Precise. Undeniably mine. When it was over, Elena asked a final question. Why come to us now? I smiled. Because someone else pitched you my shadow. I thought it was time you met the original. She stared at me for a moment, then said, let's talk next steps. As I left the building, I didn't cry. I didn't cheer. I just felt awake for the first time in weeks. Jason may have stolen my pitch, but I was about to steal his momentum, right out from under him. Back at home, Mia was waiting on my couch. Feet up, hoodie on. Tell me you recorded the meeting, she said. I didn't need to, I replied. They want a follow-up. Her eyes lit up. You're in. But the game wasn't over. Not yet. Because the very next morning, Jason called. I hadn't seen his name light up my phone in nearly a month. I let it ring. Then I answered. Hey, Ava. His voice was syrupy, smooth, too polite. Heard you've been busy. Vaxa said you gave a demo? So he knew. Good. Word travels fast, I replied. There was a long pause. Then, I think we should talk. Maybe grab lunch, clear the air. I could almost hear the panic bleeding through the cracks. Jason wasn't calling to reconnect. He was calling because I had become a threat. I gave him the most neutral smile my voice could manage. Sure, I said. Let's have lunch. What he didn't know. The investors he was chasing had already sent me term sheets, and I hadn't even touched my trump card yet. The one with his signature at the bottom of a file labeled Tech Pitch, Ava's Final V3, dated 6 weeks before he launched. He thought I'd come to talk. I was coming to watch him blink. We met at a rooftop cafe downtown. Jason chose it, of course. Trendy enough to make him feel important. Private enough to mask his motives. When I arrived, he was already there. Smooth blazer, fake grin, phone face down like he was present. Wow, he said, standing to greet me. You look sharp. I sat without a word. He always led with compliments when he needed something. And this time, he needed a lot. I've been meaning to reach out, he started. Things just got hectic. Launching, hiring, it's been a ride. Yeah, I said, flipping the menu. Must be exhausting running with someone else's legs. He paused, a flash of tension in his jaw. But he smiled through it. Look, Ava, I know things got muddy, but you know how this works. Ideas evolve. Companies pivot. It's never black and white. I looked at him, expression blank. It was black and white when you printed my pitch deck. Your logo, my graphs, your name, my work. Jason laughed lightly, waving his hand. Come on, don't be dramatic. We built that together. No, I built it. You just dressed it up for the stage. His smile faltered. Okay, maybe I should have looped you in sooner. But listen, Vaxa's still deciding. We could team up. Make this a family business again. Family. That word used to mean something. Now it just sounded like a smokescreen. Funny, I said, pulling out my tablet. I tapped a few times, then turned it toward him. The screen showed an email thread, timestamps, prototype files. One file with his name in the metadata and my code inside it. I flipped to another, the NDA we both signed when I first let him in on the project. Confidentiality, it read. Co-founder discussions. Internal use only. He blinked. Once. Twice. Then laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Wow. You're really doing this, huh? No, I said, sliding the tablet back. I already did. His voice dropped. What do you want? You want me to back out? You want equity? I leaned forward. What I want is to see how good you are without me. He scoffed. You can't kill a company by throwing tantrums. I smiled. I'm not throwing anything. But I did just accept a $1.2 million investment from Vaxa with my name on the cap table. His mouth opened slightly. No sound, just a blink. Then a breath. Then denial. You're bluffing. I slid my phone across the table. A simple PDF on the screen. Term sheet. Signed. Date. Yesterday. Firm. Vaxa Capital. Founder. Ava Walker. He stared for a long time, then leaned back and exhaled like the wind had been knocked out of him. I stood up. Good luck with your pitch, Jason. I'd say break a leg, but you already borrowed mine. And as I walked away, I didn't feel rage, I felt precision. The kind you only learn when you've been underestimated your entire life. By the next morning, things moved fast. Faster than even I expected. The moment Vaxa announced their funding in Arden Systems, industry whispers started buzzing. Not about Jason, about me. The founder no one saw coming. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. But word spreads fast, in a space full of investors and egos. And it spread even faster when TechSpring, Jason's second favorite VC, reached out to me. Not him. Me. They wanted a demo. Said they were reconsidering who had the more defensible IP? Translation? Jason had pitched a pretty lie. But I had the receipts. Mia and I prepped the updated prototype late into the night. Polished interface. Voice assistant integrations. Improved power efficiency by 12%. This is what he tried to skip, she said, staring at the schematics. He stole the song sheet, but never learned the notes. Meanwhile, Jason was scrambling. I could tell by how quiet he got online. No updates, no press, no investor selfies. Then came the twist. Mia walked into my apartment with a grin like she'd just won the lottery. You're not going to believe this. She handed me her phone. It was a LinkedIn update. One of Jason's angel investors, Marco Beltran, had just announced a reallocation of funding. Due to realignment of strategic priorities, I'm excited to back Ava Walker of Arden Systems, whose vision reflects the future of adaptive automation. I read the post twice. He jumped ship, just like that. Jason's earliest backer. Gone. Wait, I said, narrowing my eyes. Marco Beltran. Isn't he also the one with equity in 3 of Jason's partner companies? Mia nodded. Yep, and he controls 2 seats on LoadSmart's advisory board. I sat down slowly, letting that sink in. I didn't just take funding, I just bought part of Jason's company, through his own investors. You want poetic? Mia grinned. You're not just building your own empire, you're buying the floor he stands on. I should have felt smug, but instead, I felt still, like watching a tower fall, not with thunder, but with gravity. The next day, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered out of curiosity. Ava Walker? The voice asked. This is Emily from West Point Ventures. We were reviewing LoadSmart's investor deck, and some discrepancies came up. I didn't say a word, she continued. Your name appears in a few early wireframes, and Jason said you weren't involved. But we cross-checked metadata and, well, things don't add up. A pause. I know it's not our place, but are you pursuing legal action? I smiled faintly. No. I'm just building. Another pause. Then she said, if you're open to a pitch conversation, we'd like to talk. Ardent Systems seems like the real future here. I ended the call, then stared at the wall for a moment. Jason didn't just steal from me. He built a castle on sand. And now, the tide had arrived. Jason showed up at my office on a Friday afternoon. No call, no email, just waltzed in like nothing had happened. Like we were still just 2 siblings on the same team. My assistant buzzed in. There's a Mr. Jason Walker here to see you, says it's urgent. I almost told her to send him away. But something in me, curiosity maybe, said, let him in. He walked in fast. No smile this time. Just that familiar face, tight with panic underneath the mask. You're killing me, Ava. Those were his first words. I didn't even look up from my laptop. Sit down. He did. He looked around the office. Exposed brick, glass shelves, a calm hum of innovation. This wasn't the garage. This was what came after the betrayal. You poached my investors, he said, jaw clenched. No, I corrected. They walked. I just opened the door. Jason ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. You don't get it. You embarrassed me. I brought these people in. I pitched them. You undercut me. I finally looked him in the eye. You pitched them my product. Let's not forget that part. He looked ready to argue, then hesitated. Because deep down, he knew. There was no defense. He changed tactics. Okay, you've made your point. You win. Now what? That was the question, wasn't it? Aima! Aima! Ta! Ima! Aima! What was the end game? Kissy. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about what kind of legacy I wanted to build. So I leaned forward and said, I don't want anything from you, Jason. No apology, no buyout, no handshake. I just want you to watch. He blinked. Watch? Watch what it looks like when the person you underestimated rises. Not because she fought you, but because she didn't need you. His silence was louder than any argument. Then, almost reluctantly, he muttered, Marco called this morning. He's out. TechSpring pulled their second tranche. My CFO's panicking. I gave him a blank stare. And then I said something I hadn't planned to. You know, you could have just asked me. 3 months ago, when I told you I wanted to build Arden, you could have joined me. Legitimately. But you wanted headlines. You wanted to be the only name in the story. He looked away. No defense. No denial. Just shame. I stood up. We're done here. He got up slowly, paused at the door, and turned. You're not who I thought you were, he said. I gave a faint smile. No, Jason, you're just not used to women who don't need permission. He left. I sat down, closed my laptop, and stared at the quiet city skyline. Because I wasn't just building a company anymore. I was building a message. One he'd never be able to outrun. 2 weeks later, we were both booked for the same industry tech conference. Unavoidable. Uncomfortable. Unscripted. I didn't request the overlap. But I didn't decline it either. I was on a panel titled, Women Redefining Robotics. Jason, He was scheduled to pitch LoadSmart AI to a room full of investors in the main hall. Funny, 3 months ago, he would have bragged about the slot. Now? I had a better one. A keynote. Mia was pacing backstage, headset in hand. They just bumped your slot to 3 p.m., she said, right after Jason's pitch. She paused. You okay with that? I smiled. I'm better than okay. Let the crowd compare. At 2 p.m., I sat quietly in the back of the room as Jason took the stage. He looked nervous. His usual polish was there, but thin, forced. His clicker hand shook just slightly. He started with his usual opener. Today, we'll explore how LoadSmart AI is transforming warehouse logistics using predictive intelligence. But within minutes, things fell apart. Slide 3 glitched. The demo crashed. A man in the third row raised his hand. This algorithm structure looks familiar, he said. Wasn't it originally developed under a different name? Arden Systems? Jason hesitated. Well, there's overlap in the space, of course, but... Another hand shot up. Is it true you shared early IP with Ava Walker and presented it without co-founder attribution? The moderator tried to deflect. Jason's mouth opened, then closed. I'd prefer not to comment on internal dynamics, he muttered. By the end of his pitch, the room was ice. Investors whispered to each other. The applause was shallow, like courtesy claps at a funeral. And then it was my turn. The stage lights hit, the mic warmed in my hand, and I stepped up. Hi, I'm Ava Walker, founder and CEO of Arden Systems. Today, I'm not going to talk about betrayal or corporate ethics or who signed what. I'm going to show you what we built. And I did. Live demo. No lag. Real warehouse footage. Operational metrics. One simulation showed how a small regional grocer increased turnaround efficiency by 23% with our system. By the time I was done, the entire room was leaning forward. And when I said, "This is what happens when you stop chasing headlines and start chasing integrity," they stood. An actual standing ovation. I stepped off the stage and didn't look for Jason. Didn't need to. The silence behind me said enough. Later that night, I got a message from a LoadSmart engineer. Short. Sharp. Is Arden hiring? I replied, we are now. Because Jason hadn't just lost investors. He was starting to lose his team. It started with 1. Then 3. By the end of the week, I had 9 resumes from LoadSmart employees sitting in my inbox. Developers. Operations leads. Even someone from Jason's executive team. One cover letter stood out. I joined LoadSmart because I believed in the vision. Now I know the vision didn't start there. It started with you. The truth had finally broken through, not because I forced it, but because it was undeniable. Jason's empire was leaking from the inside. And then came the call. It was late evening. I was in my apartment, jazz humming softly in the background, finishing up revisions on a partner proposal. The number was unfamiliar, but I answered anyway. Miss Walker, the voice said, this is Alan McKay from Hanover Legal Group. We're conducting an internal investigation on behalf of LoadSmart's primary investors. I said nothing. He continued, there's reason to believe certain IP elements presented during LoadSmart's funding phase were not properly attributed. Would you be willing to provide a statement? So now they wanted my help. To clean up the mess Jason made. I have the original development logs, email threads, prototype archives, and the NDA, I said. I'd be happy to provide them if subpoenaed. Otherwise, I have a company to run. There was a pause. Then, a careful reply. Understood. I hung up, and then stared at the screen in front of me. My inbox blinked. Another resume, another LoadSmart defector. This one? Bevi, their head of finance. Mia walked into the apartment mid-call. She set down her tote and asked, is it weird that I feel a little bad for him? I didn't answer right away. Because part of me did too. Not for what he was losing, but for what he'd thrown away. All he had to do was build with me. But ego doesn't share power, especially when it's threatened by the quiet persistence of someone underestimated. By Friday, the news broke. LoadSmart faces internal audit after IP discrepancies surface. CEO under scrutiny for ethics violation allegations. I didn't leak anything. Didn't need to. The people who left carried the truth with them. And then came the final twist. An email from Jason. Subject: I'm sorry. The message was short. I messed up. I see that now. I didn't think you'd fight back. I thought you'd stay quiet, like always. You didn't. And I lost everything because I couldn't admit you were better than me. I read it twice, then closed the tab. No reply. Because sometimes silence is the only honest answer. He didn't just lose investors, he lost his credibility. And me? I hadn't even hit full speed yet. The day TechForge Weekly published their feature on me, I almost missed it. I was knee-deep in a product rollout plan with the engineering team when Mia stormed in. She held up her tablet like it was a trophy. "Ava," she said, breathless, "you're on the cover." I blinked. "What?" She spun the screen toward me. There it was. A full-page headline in black and chrome. The quiet genius behind Arden Systems. How Ava Walker beat her brother at his own game. The article was sharp, respectful, and most importantly, accurate. It didn't sensationalize. It didn't exaggerate. It told the truth. My story. On my terms. The fallout was instant. Investors flooded our inbox. Requests for demos, licensing deals, collaboration inquiries. Our servers briefly slowed from the traffic. Jason? He went dark. Deleted his Twitter. Removed CEO from his LinkedIn bio. LoadSmart's website displayed a vague maintenance message. And then came the real moment. During a major industry networking event, I was asked to present the Arden system live. After the presentation, a woman in her 50s approached me, gray streak in her hair, confidence in her stride. "I'm Lillian Rourke," she said. "I was Jason's professor at Stanford. I remember your name from his early case study." I raised an eyebrow. She smiled. "He never mentioned you were the one who wrote the code. But I remember the phrasing. It was different. Smarter." I chuckled softly. "Different usually gets buried." She nodded. "Until it buries back." We talked for nearly an hour. She wasn't there to offer a job. She just wanted to say, she saw me now. And that mattered. Because for years, I had lived in the shadows of loud voices and borrowed credit. Now, I was the voice. One of our new hires, formerly Jason's operations lead, popped into my office later that week. He paused at the door, looking a little sheepish. "Hey, Ava. Just wanted to say, it's wild seeing how stable everything is here. No ego, no panic, just clarity." I smiled. Good tech can't save bad leadership, but good leadership can build anything. He nodded, then paused. "I'm glad I switched sides." I looked up from my screen. There were no sides. There was only the truth. "You just finally landed on it." He left quietly. And for the first time since this all began, I leaned back in my chair, stared at the ceiling, and let the silence mean something else. Not loneliness, not rejection, just space. A space I had carved out for myself. Without cheating, without begging, without a brother who thought I'd stay invisible forever. 2 months later, Arden Systems was officially profitable. Not break even, profitable. We signed a licensing deal with a European automation firm and onboarded 3 major regional distributors. I didn't throw a party. No champagne. No posts titled, "Haters Gonna Hate." Instead, I went home, sat on my balcony with a blanket and peppermint tea, and just breathed. For the first time in years, I wasn't fighting to be heard. I was heard. And I didn't need Jason's name attached to mine to get there. Then, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Mia was out of town. My team knew better than to drop by unannounced. I opened it, and there he was. Jason. Hollow-eyed. Lighter somehow. like success had been peeled off him. "I thought you moved," I said. He gave a weak laugh. "I did. But I had to see it, had to see you." I didn't invite him in, just stepped aside and let the doorframe decide for us. He stood in silence for a while. "LoadSmart's gone," he finally said. "Investors pulled out. We couldn't meet delivery milestones without the original codebase. It's over." I nodded, said nothing. "I read your feature. They called you the mind behind the future of adaptive warehousing." Still, I said nothing. He looked down at his shoes. "I didn't think you'd win. Not because you weren't good, but because I thought people like me always came out on top." That was the truest thing he'd ever said. He looked up. "I know I can't undo what I did, but if there's ever a chance to—" "There isn't," I said, calm but final. He blinked. "I don't hate you, Jason, but I don't owe you anything either." His shoulders sagged. I always thought you'd stay in the background." And there it was. Not guilt, not apology, just disappointment that I'd stepped forward. I gave him one last look. "I didn't steal your spotlight. I created one. And the fact that it doesn't fit you doesn't make it mine to dim." He nodded slowly. "I guess this is goodbye." "It always was," I said, and closed the door. No slam, no drama, just a click of finality. I leaned back against the wood, eyes closed. And for the first time, I felt it. Peace. Not because I had won, but because I had stopped trying to prove I deserved to. Later that night, I opened my laptop. Arden's dashboard showed 3 green metrics: growth, retention, satisfaction. I opened a blank email, typed in the name of one of my early professors, the one who said I should team up with someone more presentable. In the subject line, I typed, "Still here, still building, still mine." Then I deleted it. Didn't need to send it. Because some victories don't require an audience, just a record. My brother stole my startup pitch, so I bought his investors and let the truth burn the rest. He didn't drown because I pushed him. He drowned because he never learned how to swim without someone else's legs. And me, to courage? I learned how to fly. What do you think about Ava's decision? Was she too harsh? Or was this the only way to truly protect what she built? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories about complicated family.